Hello, LinkedIn. I did it on time this month. I didn't talk too early.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Louisa. So I'm very excited, guys, because we are talking about one of my favorite topics today. If it's your first time to Power to the People, all of the content that we share on here is really about how human-centered, people-powered marketing is the way to cut through in the world of AI. We've lost Louisa already, so that's going well. Louisa, hopefully someone in the background can help you get back in. Why is it Louisa's been here for longer than me, and then as soon as we go live, we've lost her? What's going on, Paul?
My audio stopped working, and I was like, "This has happened before." I'm just going to go and come back. I'm just going to go and come back.
You're scaring me.
Sorry.
No, you're not scaring me. Don't worry. Well, I should have scared everyone. So the guys were waiting for me for about half an hour, everyone, and then suddenly I turned up late. As always, that's the kind of Katie norm. So welcome everyone. A few little housekeeping rules. So before I officially introduce my guests or get them to introduce themselves, please do introduce yourselves on the chat. We've got a great community for Power to the People. Introduce yourselves, say hi to each other, ask questions. I promise, be keeping my eyes on the chat and making sure that I ask all the questions that you ask that are close to your heart and that you need to know when it comes to getting your events to perform better in your marketing mix, which is what we're going to discuss today, amongst other things, because I have some mega guests. I mean, first up, Paul, because you're here and you haven't disappeared yet, I'm going to come to you first.
Not yet.
Paul is COO of the Lions as a business. Paul, do you want to introduce yourself, what you do? And then, of course, because we've got Paul here, we're going to share some like Cannes Lions tips, tricks, and maybe some other bits at the end of the session.
Okay. Paul Coxhill, so COO of the Lions business, which obviously includes Cannes Lions, but also Walk, Contagious, Effie, Acuity Pricing, and some events in the US called TMRE and Content Marketing World. So it's a bit of a portfolio of events, advisory, intelligence, and learning services. A fantastic set of brands, most recently joined by Effie about just over a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, what a job, Paul.
I was going to say, just a small job.
Yeah, just a bit.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Some great brands and great people.
Yeah, definitely, and a lot that I love, and very, very excited to be back at Cannes this year, which, of course, Louisa, you segue are a very big part of. So over to you next.
Hi, I'm sorry to scare you at the start, but I couldn't hear a word, and I was like, if I don't leave and rejoin, there's no way I know how to fix this. So if that happens again, that's why. I'm Louisa. I'm managing director of Scene Presents. We're a brand experience agency, hugely passionate about the power of live experience. So when you invited me along to talk on this, I was like, I'm there. I could talk about this all day. Massive fan of Cannes Lions. I've been going for over a decade now, taking various brands. We'll be back there this year with Netflix and New York Times, so can't wait. Only a few weeks to go.
I know. Yeah, I was going to say, this feels like the perfect timing to kind of dip into that. Now, before that, what I want to do is, I guess, talk a little bit about why I want to host this month's Power to the People all around events, because I do truly believe, I mean, we're as a business, my agency, Street Agency, we deliver a lot of B2B events, and I know and I see they are the most effective tool when it comes to marketing. And I think that is going to get ever more present, because in the world that we sit in today, where so much content can't be trusted, we don't know whether it's a real person or not, the only guaranteed real interactions that we can have are in real life at events. For now, let's hope they don't start, creating avatars of us anytime soon that actually look like real people, but I'm sure that will come at some stage. So I'm such a true believer, especially in the world of B2B, and I know a lot of the people dialing into this today will be in the world of B2B, is if you want to create trust with your audience and you want to create memories and you really want to kind of evoke emotion, the only way that you can do that at the scale that you can with events is through events, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why I wanted to host today. I'm really super excited to have two people who know this space inside out. So I'm going to come. In fact, I'm going to come to you first, Louisa, because we've spoken a little bit about this before. You've been on the podcast with me, talking about this. Is when it comes to events, why do you feel that they are? I mean, it's obviously all that you guys do as well. You know, that is what you do at Seam%. Like, tell me why you believe events are the answer when it comes to connection.
Well, I think that the first part is the human element of it. I mean, there's a lot of stats out there that say, you know, there is a huge amount of distrust around digital experiences. About 72% of people are worried about what they're seeing online, whether it's real or not. And I think, you know, AI and how AI is influencing creative has got a place in terms of what we see and the innovation it gives. But I think what people really crave is that human interaction, and obviously doing in real life really helps them with that. And I think it's probably born mainly out of COVID, in that when people were not around people, and then we really craved that, and it's kind of carried on. I also think, like, what's really interesting is us as an agency, we work with a lot of what we call intangible brands. So if you even think about the brands we're taking to Cannes Lions, they're Netflix and New York Times. You engage with them on your screen, and they're very popular brands: TikTok, Amazon, Netflix, Cannes Lions, Cannes Lions, New York Times. We engage with them on our screen, right? And they've got a massive community and a massive fan base online. But what I think is really interesting is those brands particularly choose to invest in real life experiences, take all that they love and all their brand offline, so that people can kind of interact with it, and they clearly see the power of that as well. And I think that's mainly around this cultural relevance piece and need. I think brands that really create an impactful cultural relevance and space for themselves invest in these in real life experiences, because they know that is where communities meet other communities, human connections are made, and they can kind of build that brand relevance over and above what they can create online.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. You know, we work with a lot of tech companies that tech companies don't have products, they are a service. So,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes to trying to create those spaces and bring these brands to life, I think, there's just nothing that you can do like events. Now, Paul, you obviously have some amazing activations across the board, but I am going to focus a little bit on Cannes Lions because, of course, it's coming up. What I find incredible about Lions that sometimes I think people forget is, it was just born as it was born as an award, right? It was an awards ceremony. And now look at it today. It's like where every single major advertising company comes to, connect with their audience, connect with their buyers, their customers. Can you talk to me a little bit about the evolution of, I guess, how and why you think that happened? Because I guess it also quite naturally shows the demand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with a lot of what Louisa was saying. I think that power of being in person, which is ultimately all about trust. We run a lot of digital products as well, and it's the trust that people place in the brand, and in the curation and in the connection that they know they're going to get, whether that's digital or physical. It's why they come to us. But if we talk a bit about Cannes Lions, and it started, as you say, over 70 years ago. As an award show, and kind of moved between Venice and Cannes for some years, and then settled in Cannes. And the award show is still the core of the festival even today. And it's, the evolution of the awards by itself is quite a story, because that started with one award and now there's many categories, and we innovate in thinking through which awards should we be introducing or retiring every year as the industry evolves. So that celebration of creativity and creative effectiveness is fundamental to the whole show. And I think that, the awards to some extent, and that celebratory moment around the awards really are the emotional core of Cannes Lions. And then everything else has evolved through as the industry has evolved. I mean, we pride ourselves on staying really connected to the industry and the community, hearing what's changing, looking at what's evolving every year, and then evolving the festival as a result of that. And if you kind of rewind, I guess, 20 years, it became the International Festival of Creativity as opposed to just advertising. And that created a much broader canvas that we could then operate within, inviting people from across the creative industries to become part of Cannes. And as the agencies saw the power of that connection of bringing people together, because it really did used to be all about creative agencies, they started to invite clients. The clients were attending, and so media players started to come along as well because they wanted to speak to those CMOs as well. And then the ecosystem evolved further into tech, ad tech, martech, and latterly creators. And every time we've innovated in the festival to respond to that changing market. And we, every year at the festival, we're doing it again this year, we stay super close to, well, who's here that wasn't here previously and why are they here? And we spotted that with creators a few years ago, and more were coming. So we said, why are you here? They said, well, we're here to meet the brands. So we developed the Lions Creators proposition, which is now in its third year, to really attract that audience at scale, which I'm delighted to say is going really well. So I think staying close to the market, being really, really close to what's happening in the industry, and then evolving the proposition, but still staying true to the core, which is that celebration of creativity.
It's such a good example of like how B2B shows up, but in a B2C space. Like we're like, Katie and I are like fighting all the time that B2B doesn't have to be boring. And I think on paper, Cannes Lion looks like a B2C event. It looks like you'd want to go and buy a ticket just as a normal person, not even an advertiser. And I think it's because like all these CMOs and the brands that show up understand the importance of brand world building. Like all these CMOs are there to, you know, do deals essentially with brands. How do you make them feel the power of that brand over and just having a meeting and showing them a sizzle reel? How do you make them feel like they're part of that world and bring everything to life as part of that world, whether you're a Microsoft or a Netflix or a Meta or a DoorDash, or even going on to like the film festival, you've got like Magnum there, for example. I think, you know, the way that festival has evolved to kind of build these brand worlds, I wish that it would be replicated in more places, because that's where that powerful connection is made, is where you can kind of see, like Pinterest is a great example. They open up their beach to like consumers, and like you can go on the beach as a consumer, and the CMOs having the meetings on the pier next to it can see the power that the brand is like having on those consumers. And I just think it must make those conversations much more authentic than if they were just sitting in a boardroom looking at a presentation.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Paul. Well, I was just going to say what Pinterest have created is a total lasting memory from the event, because you can actually get a tattoo. This isn't a Pinterest tattoo, by the way, but I am going to make a really big effort.
It's hard to get on the list. There's a
got to get up early, and I never am up early. I've always been drinking too much the night before, but I am going to this year because I'm being much more organised, and I've actually got a couple of work things to do rather than just go and enjoy. I'm actually working, so I am going to get up super early, go for a run, and go enjoying the queue. But I think that's what's amazing to see. It's how, like, I'm very new to Lions. I've only been for the last 3 years, which is mad. I was saying to you, wasn't I, Paula? I was always begging, I run my own business now, and I have done for the last 7 years. And I always wanted to go to Lions. I was always trying to persuade, someone to send me to Cannes Lions, and that I needed to be there, but never quite made it. But now I get to go, and I'm actually interviewing Cindy Gallop this year. I'm so excited about that on the Monday.
Just fabulous.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't wait. I'm gonna ask some cheeky questions, some about dating younger men. That's going to be a big topic of conversation. How I can do that, by the way. But I divert. This isn't Katie's person in the channel on a Wednesday afternoon. But I think for me, what's been great about the event, apart from using it as a dating channel, has been just to see how much it's progressed in terms of the type of brands that are having the activations there, and how amazing, like you say, those activations are, Louisa. It is like going to festival. I mean, the best ever festival. Like every year there's like rumors about every year there's rumors about who's going to turn up. Or Taylor Swift, I think one year when I was there, was like they were like, Taylor Swift's maybe flying in, and then last year I was at the campaign party, and then next door you have Ludacris singing. Like the caliber of the experiences that these that the the people that are exhibiting there are putting on, it is like nothing else. It's incredible.
I think they're clever. Like if you look under the hood, like the outside view is that they're just really creative and it's like loads of entertainment and you can have a drink and stuff. But if you actually look under the hood of the activations, what they're actually doing is trying to land and tell like quite a clever and often quite complex business message. So like, what are the new products that they're launching? What are the new opportunities for advertisers? What are things that people can invest in? What are things that are going to help creators create their creator economy? And I think it's presented in such a creative world building, brand building way. But actually, when you go and you have a look at those, there's a lot of thought gone into it. And I think that's a real lesson of like how to do B2B well, in that you can create this sort of like party in the front, business in the back. You can create this facade that really attracts people into your space so that on immediate look, you know it's that brand. If you think of Meta compared to Pinterest, you can tell a Meta activation versus a Pinterest one, and then you go in and it's really clever and they're showing you like their collaboration with Ray-Ban, they're showing the new effects that you can, you know, access as advertisers. And I think that's the best B2B for me, and I think Cannes is a really good example of that.
It's done.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about festivalization as a thing within the wider Informa, because you may know Lions was bought by Informa a couple of years ago, and we are part of a division within Informa called Informa Festivals, and the festivalization of B2B events is a really important kind of mega trend, if you like, for what's happening in our collective industry. And there's other wonderful examples within our portfolio. Money 2020, for example, which is, you know, operates in 4 different markets, but is very much a festival for the fintech industry. So I think bringing that experience-led element to events and not just thinking about them purely as transactional moments is really critical, because it means the audience keeps coming back. And that then means the exhibitors' partners are happy to keep spending the money because they've got the right people there, and it creates that flywheel effect. So, you know, I think sometimes B2B events are seen as quite flat and very transactional, but that experience element makes such an enormous difference.
Yeah, so true. And I think that's the thing, is I actually posted about exactly this week, Paul, is I think traditionally everyone thought, you know, B2B events, they were very like theatre style. It was about how many people you put in the room. They weren't designed for experience or to encourage natural learning and conversation. And that's where the magic of these events happen. Like at Street, we put on often much smaller event, like nowhere near the scale of Cannes, but like much smaller, more boutique, I guess fringe events for a lot of big, you know, trade shows, etc., where we're connecting people in smaller settings so that they can have those conversations. But I think traditionally B2B have been thought of as these, you know, boring events where you go and listen to someone talk at you, you know, or there's a panel or a fireside chat and you're literally spoken at. There's no design of the event, there's no experiential. It's just come and listen, we'll tell you about our product or our service or whatever it might be, and then off you go. I think that is changing dramatically. And if people, you know, that's what I get this session's all about. Like if people want to design events that actually connect them with their audience, you've got to think about how can we encourage collaboration? How can we make it fun? How can we design an event? And some of the most simplest things are like, you know, don't have, you know, just traditional theatre style events. Have round tables where people are actually discussing something round a table. You're providing spaces that encourage conversation rather than people just being, you know, spoken at. So I think it's changed dramatically. It's getting a lot better, but there's still a lot of, excuse my French, there's still a lot of shit out there. There's still a lot of bad events.
But I think you should think also you've got to design for your audience, right? Not every B2B audience is the same. We talk about paddlers, swimmers, divers. So you've got in advertising, marketing, B2B investors, you've got, you know, really top C-suite down to like brand managers and marketeers. C-suite will engage with a B2B event very differently to like brand managers. So we try and create events that will cater towards paddlers, swimmers, divers. Paddlers will paddle around the edge and they'll look at some stuff and they'll have a meeting and they'll have a discussion. They're probably more top line, probably more your like C-suite. Then you got swimmers where they'll go in a little bit, and they'll have a little go, but then they'll duck out. And then divers are like, they're on everything. I'm doing the Crocs, I'm doing the tattoos, I'm over here doing the pastry bit, and I want a follow-up meeting. And I think you have to try and create B2B experiences that create that light and shade. Like a manifestable isn't going to be the right format for every brand and every B2B attendee, but I think you can take elements of it and create that different way to connect, different way to participate, and different way to learn, depending on who your audience is. And I think old B2B events were just a bit more formulaic, and I think what we're getting better at now is thinking about who is attending the event and how do they like to learn and how do they like to participate and what are they interested in, and then try and craft an experience that tries to tick all those boxes for them. And I think that's also like a good example of B2B done well, because not everyone's got the budgets of Cannes Lion, not everyone's got the week-long thing to, you know, immerse people in, but I think the principles of it can be applied to most things.
Yeah. I was going to ask, and this, I guess, to both of you, and in terms of what you're seeing, like we're seeing a lot of digital fatigue, I think. Like, you know, AI is everywhere. AI is amazing. There's going to be a lot of talks, you know, at Lions about this. I'm constantly, and you know, and I'm super interested. I absolutely love AI and technology. It helps me do a lot. But to what extent do you think people are experiencing that kind of digital fatigue? Do you think it's higher now than it was before?
I do. I mean, the word of the year last year, was it the year before, is brain rot. That was like the number one word.
Yeah.
Because digital content out there is just so plentiful, and it's like quantity over quality. And I think, you know, they're saying that Gen Z are the loneliest generation out there. Boomers are actually the least lonely, and they're the people that have had the least amount of digital consumption. And actually the quantity of digital that we can engage with is just so vast. And you know, consumers are now saying that it's like 80% of consumers are interested in or want to go to a brand experience, and 43% of that, so like almost half, say by doing that it would actively make them want to buy a brand. And like in comparison, only 21% of people say the same thing about digital advertising. And I think, you know, sometimes we're not even taking in what we're engaging with in a digital world. We're watching Netflix whilst also being on TikTok, whilst also checking our emails. Like, we're taking all this in all the time. And I think live experiences are the one space where you can have this presence of mind. And I think, you know, not to talk about Pinterest again, but what they just did at Coachella was amazing. Like, they obviously had a phone-free activation. This is a brand that is built out of you engaging with it on your phone. Like, they are an app. So, and they built an activation where they took your phone off you, because they wanted you to go in and feel tangible physical connections with people, because their platform is all around, you know, that creation of joy and creativity and craft. And I think lots of brands are seeing that digital is not the way forward. I'm not saying don't do it at all, but I think the balance is shifting a little bit now, and people are realizing that you get more brand resonance and more cultural relevance if you can create that human connection piece.
Yeah, I would. I mean, digital is such a huge word, isn't it, and encompasses so many different things. I think overall what we see is people are looking for real human connection, whether that's digital or physical. And you know, because we also have digital brands and we have lots of digital customers, and I think there's a flight to quality, whether it's digital or physical actually, and we see a lot more focus on trusted brands that I can go to and trust that actually what I'm reading or what I'm engaging with is real, and is based on not underlying AI slop, but it's based on real thinking and real curation. And we see that, I think, in B2B world, both digitally and physically. So our job is to make sure the quality of the content that we produce is better than anything you would find in AI, because it's got that combination of human connection, but also using AI tools for efficiency, but making sure that actually the output that you're reading and seeing is based on and anchored in trust, and that's where our brands will always seek to shine. But I think coming back to the human experience, the best events in the world are those that they're appointments in the diary, because people trust and know that they have to be there, whether that's for business, whether it's for personal reasons, whether that's because they want to learn something new, and some of the smaller some smaller events that maybe have bumbled along okay in the past but haven't innovated and haven't created more of that kind of thoughtful, experience-led momentum behind their growth are also struggling. So I think that's a physical and digital issue. As world's marketing budgets and budgets in general shrink, there is a challenge to say, well, where do I want to be and how do I want to show up, whether that's physically or digitally? So that's on all of us to make sure we keep innovating and keep doing new things. So I think if you just stick to what you were doing 5-10 years ago, then physically or digitally, you're not going to last.
Yeah, I'm so behind you in that. In fact, we just picked up a new client this year who that was the brief. They were like, look, we've been doing it a certain way for a certain amount of time. Lots of people come to say hi to me here, Paul. And someone said that they could see someone in your garden earlier. I was like, oh
really?
Yeah. They were like, you've got someone peeking in his window.
If that's Pascal, I hope he's not in my garden.
I didn't see, so I might have to rewind the video later. But I'm so with you. I think for me, it's how we picked up events from people because they've been doing it the same way for such a long time, and they just have we're doing and a large event street is probably around about 100 people. Most of our events are really, really C-suite focused dinners, experiences, but in order to get the people in the room that our clients want there, their prospects, we've got to design events that feel exclusive, that feel different. We're doing things now that we would never have maybe even thought about doing in the B2B world, like even 5-10 years ago. Like we're designing we've done Bake Off, for instance, where we're getting C-suite leaders to bake cakes together and compete together. We're doing much more basic things, but like cocktail making experiences, where we've had some amazing people join us. We're doing in Barcelona as 2 fringe events for Shop Talk in a couple of weeks with our client Contentful. We're doing a whole come and make they're doing a whole thing around personalization, so it's come and personalize and make your own paella and sangria. We're doing pre-party, I don't know, come and get ready for the festival. We're doing things that are much more fun, but the products are still there. We've still got JD Sports, H&M, C-suite leaders speaking and sharing some of the cool things that they're doing with technology, but in much more innovative, fun spaces, because our time is important, and we're even with all of this technology, we're still super time poor. So I think actually designing events that people want to go to, that feel exclusive, that feel different, that feel like they're going to come and of course in B2B a lot of the time they do want to come and learn something. We're all going to these events in the world of B2B because we want to make connections with people and or learn something, let's be honest. So I think how you design events and how you think about what's the story, how does that map back to your brand, how is it going to help you share the story or the product that you're launching or the new thing that you want to talk about, how is it going to help you do that? And how can you design an event that feels authentic to you and your brand? I think it's been, it's not been lazy, but I think that we've just dialed into the same ways of doing things consistently for so long. So there's definitely a big opportunity to change. And I think the brands that are brave in the world of B2B and are happy to, do things a bit differently are going to be the ones that start to stand out. Because honestly, the stats, I was actually looking before we jumped on, I think these stats are amazing. So if you're working in marketing and you're listening, guys, there's some really interesting stats about how events contribute to marketing, like, ROI, basically. 68% of B2B marketers say in-person events are their most effective lead generation channel. And that is quickly rising. I looked at these stats about a year or two ago, and it was much less than that. 78% of those that actually marketers that have delivered events say that they've got positive ROI from in-person events. Now, this one sounds actually insane, but I found it, so I'm going to talk about it. Where is it? It was a really, really high stat, and now I need to find it. Here we go. 85% of B2B event attendees often will convert into leads within 90 days of attending. I need to interrogate that stat because that sounds incredibly high. But I would say it's true. When we host these events for our clients, we are very lead generation focused. We're there's pressure on all of us to deliver more than we ever have before. So getting return on investment from these events when you're spending a lot of money, there's got to be a measurable return. So, but I would say even for small events where we're hosting like 30 people, we are probably converting between 30 and 60% of those into actual meetings with our clients most of the time. You do not see that kind of return or conversion to meeting in any other way. That's because they've met you in real life. They've built trust with you. You've connected with them. Like that, you just can't replace this digitally. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing digital. We should be doing digital. There's a place for content. I mean, this is digital to a certain extent. It's a mixture of digital and event, but it's so important that you actually have events as part of your marketing mix, because if you don't, you're missing that community, that connection, and that realness with your audience. And I find that interesting about the creator economy, and you're starting to see them do a lot more events now, because they're realizing you have to you can't just be this digital person. You actually have to meet your community in real life to bring them together to actually.
But I think if you think like the most successful brands in the world, it's because they meet their community where they are. Like all the brands that most other brands covet to be, like Red Bull, Nike, Coca-Cola, they're showing up where their fans and their community show up, and they show up in an authentic way, and they show up in a consistent way. So they don't just drop in and out, they will build that legacy and that community over time. And I think unfortunately sometimes that's the thing that brands that are choosing to invest in events have to realize, in that you do have to create that consistency to make sure that you're building that legacy piece with your community. But I also think on a B2B perspective, because I often do insight sessions all the time, and people are like, yeah, but it's fine to be creative and cool on B2C events. Like, that's easy. How do you still create that with B2B? And I think the main thing that people forget is that B2B attendees are still fans themselves. Like, they still use the products. Like, you have to treat them like a fan. And I think the reason why B2B has potentially been boring in the past, or the same in the past, is because as soon as you use that word business, it kind of alludes to the seriousness, is that the things that you're talking about are so serious, so you have to create this air of seriousness around it. But I think that you can still create that sense of fandom and brand building, even if the message is quite serious. If you take like an upfronts, for example, we've just done Netflix's upfronts in New York. The business messaging there is extremely serious. It's about talking about, real hard-hitting advertising facts, and really setting the scene for the year to come for advertisers. But we present those in a really immersive, theatrical way to build that fandom, to show what Netflix is all around. And I think Magno, one of the C-suite people at Netflix, he always says that. He's like, our advertisers are fans first, and like, we need to meet them where they are, and we need to create experiences that show them the power of our brand. And I feel like whether you're doing a B2C event or a B2B event or a B2Creator event, that's where you should start, and that's how you should explain it to procurement and finance, or whoever they are, is like, that this is where we need to start. And PS, come down to Manifestival Beach and see the power of the brand and what it's creating. Get out of the boardroom and come, and when we're saying we need X amount of dollars because we need to create this B2B experience that's over and above just a stale cup of coffee and a pull down projector, if they can come and see it and see the impact that it has, I think it really helps your cause with trying to get that investment. That's my number one tip. Get legal and get finance and get procurement down to the event.
I think that's a fantastic tip, and look, there's a reason why a number of the world's biggest media platforms and ad platforms have kept coming back year after year to Cannes, and to your point, Louisa, that's because they've seen that ROI, and they've got their C-suite engaged in those decisions, had them present so that they can be actually part of meeting the community. Often a number of our clients get their C-suite in to meet clients at the event, so then they see the power of it themselves, because it's directly people they wouldn't have met somewhere else. So the more that you can get those senior leaders involved in helping see it come to life, but also while they're there, realizing the ROI that they themselves are seeing, as well as the wider brand, that then has a knock-on impact on your future investment. And we've, again, based on feedback from the community, we've also created a CEO forum in Cannes, which we're in year 2 of this year, to bring global CEOs into the festival as well. And that's for various reasons, including helping marketers to make the case to CEOs for creativity and investment in marketing. But it also means the CEOs get to see these amazing brand activations and see them come to life, which is really important for the wider ecosystem.
You should get them down on day 1 of build day, then they'll see where the money goes. It's all buried under the sand.
Yeah.
Are they come in after that? Normally.
I can't see that. I can't see that. You've given me loads of ideas, by the way, because I was just thinking what I love in today's world about going to events. I get to go to lots of amazing events, feel very blessed. One of my favorite activations, which sounds quite basic, but I absolutely loved, and we're getting them involved with an event that I'm actually hosting at LinkedIn's headquarters at their LinkedIn Experience Center in September, is the tech companies. So we had Adobe and LinkedIn in the LinkedIn I can't remember what it's called. It's at the Carlton, isn't it? LinkedIn have a really nice event. So the LinkedIn activation at Cannes, and they had
the place to be to be.
Yeah, there we go. The place to be. They had very simply someone from Adobe, someone from LinkedIn there, just showing you and making it very easy. You could go and film a video in this little booth, do your piece to camera, and then they had someone helping you edit the video. That was literally it. And I was like, do you know what? This is brilliant. And again, I just went to HumanX in San Francisco. We hosted a fringe event there for another client, and went up to the Slack stand and learned loads of stuff, like how to automate different things and send messages to clients, and integrate various, just really basic. There's so much technology out there now. If you could host an event which just had people hands-on helping show you how to get the best out of half of the technologies that we use every day that we're probably not maximizing, there's so much, and it can be done in a really fun way where you're actually doing it with some. Do you know what I mean? There's so much, and I think Cannes is great at bringing that kind of stuff, that value to life, seeing what's possible with these technologies, being inspired by the incredible ads that are obviously winning awards and various other things. It makes it emotive, it makes it fun, it makes you want to learn. But I just feel like we're at a point where there is so much to learn. I want to take my whole team in the summer out for 2 days and just run AI workshops. If anyone knows anyone, by the way, please introduce them to me. Because I know there's so much that we're not doing, and I think in our world, at places like Cannes, you can learn and pick up the people that you meet. If I think about the best technologies that have helped me, get my business further faster, I've learned them from speaking to people, meeting them at events, hearing people doing. You just can't yes, you might get advertised something online, and there's of course there's an omni-channel journey going on here where you might see something on whatever platform you're on, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, then you might meet someone, they might talk about it, you'll then be retargeted, of course. But I just think events are so strong when it comes to building trust, because there's nothing like human connection, and there's nothing like human recommendation.
It's interesting. Just to give you an example of that, so we're welcoming a new partner this year for the first time, which is Anthropic, but they've chosen to be part of the festival through the Cannes Lions School, because they see that that's a real opportunity to educate some of the attendees at the school, which is a massive part of the festival, that whole learning experience, to be partners with us on that. And to be really hands-on and practical in helping the creators and the creatives and the marketers who are part of the school to use AI in new and interesting ways to help them do their jobs. I think it comes back to the point Louisa was making earlier on. Every brand that attends or exhibits or partners has different objectives, and the objectives may be brand awareness. They may be specifically pushing a particular product line. They may be meetings. It may be outcomes in terms of sales, but having real clarity on what your objectives are, and then building your activation around that rather than the other way around is fundamental, because otherwise you'll go home disappointed.
I think that's
Yeah.
why events can sometimes get a bit of a bad rep, because the brief isn't clear. Like, let's do an event. Like, we've got some money left over at the end of the quarter, we'll do an event. And like we have I use a swear word, but we have a phrase like rubbish in, rubbish out. Like, if you don't have like clear objectives or why, I'd rather not do an event than do one if it doesn't have a clear like why we're doing it. And I think events need to be thought about as part of your overall marketing strategy, not just you have this like up down triangle, well, all the investment goes out of home and social, and it trickles down into this little bottom peak at the bottom, and then whatever's left goes on an event. You have to think about it at the top of the funnel to be in terms of what is your strategy across consumers, across employees, across advertisers or B2B, and what are your objectives, and does an event make sense? And it doesn't always make sense, and therefore if you're trying to shoehorn it in, that's when you're going to get bad ROI on it. But I think thinking that way, and also just thinking that your ROI on an event is much more long term than ROI on a digital campaign. Digital campaigns have amazing vanity results. Like, you can be like, 25,000 people saw this advert, and in the stats look so good to finance and procurement and whoever, because they're like big fat chunky numbers, and you can be like, but 100 people came to my event. But I bet you that if you continue to do that event, that it's the legacy of that ROI, and knowing that people are going to come back, that they're talking about you positively. I find it ludicrous that these big results around digital campaigns get so much kudos when you can't prove that a single one of those people then went on to buy something, or it's like hard to prove that. But you get tarnished with the same kind of thing. Well, can you prove that someone came to the event and then went on and bought a thing? I'm like, I know. Well, can you prove that someone who saw that billboard bought a Ferrari? No, like, it's same, but I think you have to really think about event strategies and event investment long term. Like, the more immediate ROI you're going to get is this amount of people came, or this amount of people filled in a questionnaire. But I think, legacy kind of results are much more impactful than digital, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would just I agree with the power of the in-person thing. I think where the clients that we see, I think, having the greatest success from Cannes Lions and from our other events, are really thinking about events in a joined up way across their whole marketing mix. And then, to Louisa's point, they're measuring the interaction at the event. That's really important. That could be through RFID, or we in Informa offer tools to our clients to help them track leads and then to follow up with them afterwards. And that's important. That's something we've brought to Cannes Lions this year off the back of being part of Informa. But then following up digitally afterwards, or warming up the audience digitally before, so that events isn't just happening in a moment and then forgotten, but you're joining the dots and then tracking all the way through, whether that's in Salesforce or somewhere else. Clients who come to Cannes do so with real intention. It's for many of them, it's a big investment. For some of them, it's a much smaller investment, and they're not going to keep coming unless they can demonstrate that the ROI they got on that investment worked for them. And that's because they're measuring it really, really stringently to make sure that they're tracking meetings, it might be a new client, or it might be that they're meeting a client that's they're trying to get a renewal for, or it might be that they're warming up a lead that they've met before, physically or digitally, but they're crystal clear on their objective and they measure everything.
Yeah, Sorry, you go, Louisa.
Well, I was just going to say, digital's an amazing partner to events. I don't think it shouldn't be one or other. Like,
not one or other, no.
No, they have to work in tandem. Digital gives you your pre-comms, your during comms, and your post-comms, and it helps with that legacy. It's like squeeze the lemon. Like, if you're gonna do an event, capture it, talk about it before, do snippets of the activations you've done, like do snippets of the keynote that you've given. Like, digital can create such a powerful like follow-up tool and way to connect with audiences who couldn't come. And what an event does is gives you all that amazing content and collateral to use it. So it's like the perfect marriage, and events give you that really authentic content as well. You can see people interacting with the brand versus like this made up content that digital can sometimes be. So you can't have one without the other. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I actually literally had that this week, Louisa, where I didn't get invited to an event. Ooh, sad. It was Tringy's new launch, but I've been speaking to them about doing something. And then I've just seen it all over LinkedIn. I was like, oh, I wish I was at that event. You know, there was such great content about a new lip product that they've launched. And I was like, oh, I wish I was there. And it was all glittery and lovely and just totally my kind of thing.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah,
I agree, it looked good.
You've seen it too. I
had the same with Coachella. I had and Coachella FOMO.
And I think that's the thing, is people forget sometimes there's so many different things for you to track in terms of, you know, what makes a good ROI for your event. You know, there's obviously pipeline influence, there's brand perception, there's trust acceleration with your existing customers, there's content creation, social proof, community building, employee advocacy, partnerships with other tech companies or businesses that you're working with. Like, there's so much. So the modern ROI story, I think there's so much more to track and so much more that events can help you with than maybe people thought about. And also, I think, Paul, you referenced something really, really important there, is, you know, the before and after is so important. Like, yes, you've got to deliver a fantastic event that people actually want to come to and that has a fantastic experience and that connects people and that, you know, delivers against your objectives, whether it's talking about a new product or a new launch or whatever it might be. But you also need to, one, have the right comms, you know, using your digital outreach to get them there in the first place. Because especially in B2B, the stats are staggering. Like 60% of people drop out before they don't come, especially for free events. Like 60, which most B2B events are, not all, but a lot are. So, you know, if 60%, like, what are you doing pre-event to make sure they actually attend? I mean, when we do our bespoke events, we're emailing, you know, we've got proper nurture journeys. We're not just emailing, we're picking up the phone, we're talking to them, we're telling them about the experience, we're taking food orders, we're sometimes introducing, you know, especially with C-suite dinners and things, we're introducing them to the other people in the room ahead of the event, so they're much less likely to drop out. We're producing packs and welcome packs and topics of conversation for the evening to share with them. You know, it's effort, it's not just the event. And then post-event, if not even more, like, what content are you sharing that you've created at your event? How quickly are you following up? Because if you follow up too late, they've gone there onto the next thing, they're not thinking about your event anymore. There's so many important, I mean, I could talk about this for hours because I love it and it's what we do, but there's so many important ingredients to delivering experiences that actually engage and deliver ROI. I think, you know, people just do an event and think that that's it and that they can do it on their own and that there's, you know, not that much involved. But believe me, if you want it to work and then they go, oh, the event didn't work. Well, yeah, because you didn't give it the time, attention and love really that it needed in order to deliver. So
and I think that's where innovation is really important. You know, that's a fundamental part of everything that we're trying to do, is that constant innovation. You know, I mentioned creators earlier, but we in general heard a lot of feedback from people in Cannes that they love being part of the big show, but they also want an opportunity to be in their tribes at various points in the week as well. And that's Creators is a great example of that. We've launched Lions Sport this year as well with our friends at Sport Beach, to have a day and a half of a moment where that community comes together, from rights holders to brands to media owners. Same with B2B. With LinkedIn, we have a B2B summit, which is an invite-only event within the festival, and I could go on, a CMO forum. So there's lots and lots of different kind of moments during the week where communities can come together, kind of share experiences with their peers, and then go back into the bigger show and keep doing what they were doing before, whether that's learning or meetings or whatever. And that innovation is really important, because Cannes in reality is lots of mini events in one big one. You know, so we have to tackle all the things you were talking about, Katie, making sure we get enough people to come to the CMO forum, that we follow up with them afterwards, and, you know, because that's a smaller event within a much bigger event. So being really thoughtful about each of those individually as well as the collective is fundamentally important.
Yeah, love it. Now, we have had some questions, and I've been dying to get to Mattia's question, because I was actually going to ask you guys, although we've only got about 10 minutes left, about your favourite events and activations and why. But actually, Mattia Demoli, thank you so much for asking, has said, Louisa, please can you share some insights regarding the recent Scene Presents activation in London for the Il Fresco di Paroni?
Yes.
Yeah, we found that a stunning activation. So I want to know what that was now.
It was a consumer pop-up in Covent Garden over Bank Holiday weekend, and it was what I think is a really good example of when, if you have an event and borrowing equity, which a lot of really good event and collaborations do, from an area that really resonates with the brand message you're trying to tell. So Peroni was all around authenticity and Italian heritage. What we did is we partnered with Joy Collective, who are a creative studio. They're all artists. And what they did was they created a bespoke mural that felt like they put you in the heart of Italy, but it was all, the way it was designed, it was all perspective illusion, so that if you stood near it you felt like you were in it, but when you were near it all the perspectives went weird, but when you took a photograph it all looked like it made sense. And then within the mural we had built-in urns, and when you put your glass up to the urn it poured you a pint of Peroni. So it was like making you feel like you were in the fresco. It was bringing a little bit of Italy to London. It was a way to sample Peroni but in a much more experiential and immersive way. And what Peroni I think really embraced well is that we wanted that authenticity of craft and that authenticity of artistry, and rather just using AI or printing something, we used real artists to create this mural over a period of time, and it was all around that like timeless craft and authenticity. And thank God it was sunny, because that really helped, because it looked amazing, and it was super popular. The ROI for Peroni was massive. We did some partnerships with local bars as well, which were driving people from the experience to the bars and from the bars to the experience. So yeah, it was great, and a super short time frame as well, but really successful. I'm very proud of the work, and it was nice to do something really tangible and craft driven, and the artists that created it were really talented. So it's great.
Louisa, I'm very jealous because I used to work in that space. Did you know that? My past life, I worked for Pernod Ricard.
Nice.
Yeah, and in the experience, I did a lot with I say in the experiential marketing team. I sort of worked alongside the experiential marketing team, and I absolutely loved that kind of creative part of my job and helping the brands come to life. And it's just those activations. I mean, you will never forget when you've experienced something like that taste of Peroni kind of takes you back to the same moment, and that's where I fell in love with events.
And it was like the surprise and delight. It was like you put, and they were like, "How did you do that? How did you know that my glass was there?" And then to pour a pint in the pint.
Yeah.
So it was like I like, to your point, Paul, it's like the innovation things, like we get to play with innovation and creativity in events. I loved it because I'm northern. My drink of choice is always a pint. I go out with my boyfriend and they'll bring a pina colada and a pint, and they think it's the other way around, and I'm like, no, pints for me, thanks very much. So it was a great activation to be involved in. So yeah, that was thanks for the question, Matty. I'm glad you liked it.
Very cool indeed. I wish I'd seen it.
I'm going to ask the same question to you, Paul, because obviously you're involved with a lot of amazing events. Can you call out one event or activation that you have just been like, yeah, from any aspect that was just amazing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be really boring and choose our own event because I think because I love it, because it's really cool. And look, I mean, there's loads and loads of amazing activations. Amazon Port, the Pinterest Beach, we've talked about a lot already. We've talked about LinkedIn at the Carlton. But I think for impact in the last few years, Stagwell's Sports Beach is just a really fantastic strategic thought, and the way that they've activated a completely new segment, working alongside us to bring that audience. They kind of came really thoughtfully. They started really small with some, I think, a podcast activation originally, and then really learned about the community, looked at what they thought they could do that was really different. And they're not a sports agency; they're a collective of lots of independent agencies. They thought we could do something really different and meaningful here, bring a new community into the event and really shine. And they've done that in spades. And Sports Beach, if you've not been to it, or if anyone on the live hasn't been to it and you're coming to Cannes, I'd encourage you to go there and check it out. It's a brilliant activation. They have some mega stars of sport this year. They've got some absolutely wonderful people coming to experience and to meet the brands and to meet people who are attending the festival. But the ROI they've got from that for their business is really meaningful, so much so that Sport Beach has been set up as a separate division within Stagwell now, and they're rolling it out across various other, in fact, they've rolled it out across various other events around the world. So as a story of kind of starting small, really being intentional, thinking strategically, doing an amazing activation, which is super cool, and then taking that on the road elsewhere, I think it's a wonderful strategic story.
Yeah, I love, and it's a tough one to get into. Register early, guys. Well, on that, I've got to use the last 5 minutes, Paul and Louisa, to quiz you both on, like, well, first I'm going to come to Paul on Cannes, but first I'm going to say, what can we expect this year? What are the cool standout? Who's coming? Which celebrities do I need to watch out for? Like, give me any insider info I'm allowed to have. Go on, tell us, Paul.
Well, in terms of what no, it's super. Look, I mean, the lineup is incredible. We've of course got the amazing Oprah Winfrey coming this year, which we're thrilled about, and we've been trying to get Oprah to come for some time, so we're really pleased about that. But we've got amazing speakers. We've got Demis Hassabis, obviously amazing guy behind Google DeepMind. We've got Mel Robbins, we've got Professor Brian Cox, we've put Stephen Bartlett, many others, Stella McCartney. But if you really kind of go, I think the really interesting stuff, as well as all of those amazing people, is the individual moments that each individual community within the industry will love. So, a lot of the kind of strategist community and marketing and I guess brand marketers are really excited about seeing Mark Ritson on stage with Byron Sharp to see if they can agree on something together. So they've, I think they've only ever been on stage together once before. So seeing those two kind of gurus of marketing coming together on stage, I think is really exciting. So just look, a wonderful lineup. There's more to come that we haven't announced yet, which we're excited to share, but it's already lining up to be the best ever.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I just love. I also just love all the gossip, Louisa. You're probably there where there's like, oh, this person's coming to this, and you need to get a ticket.
Don't grill me. I'm not going to tell you who's performing on Spotify.
I feel like Louisa might know something. But one thing I was going to ask Louisa. Well, it feels like you're going to say something, so I'm actually not going to ask it yet. You go first.
No, the only thing I was going to say is. I was going to say a different angle, right? Because not everyone that goes to Cannes can afford a ticket, and some of the big speakers and the amazing speakers, you need a badge. And there is an amazing fringe community at Cannes Lion where you can go as a marketeer and a creative, and you can experience some of the other things if you are not able to go as one of those C-suite or advertisers or creatives that can get a badge. And I think the likes of Empower Cafe or Female Quotient or Brands and Culture Villa, Canva, Pinterest, like you can sign up to some of these activations so that you can still get immersed in that creativity, and that they also have some incredible inspirational speakers on there as well. I think my top tip is start searching for them and sign up early, because they'll ping you notifications of like their agendas and who they've got on stage when, and what you can access without a badge and what you can access with a badge. Obviously, if you can get a badge, get one, because the content that you get exposed to is like unbelievable. But if you can't, I would say that it's still a really rich place to be, to absorb everything that our creative industry has to offer, and there's lots out there. You just got to search for it, so have a little Google.
And just a quick one on the badge. We work with all the kind of official fringe partners, and I agree completely. There's some amazing content. On the badges, we've got completely different ways of accessing this year. There's a startup pass, a challenger pass, which are lower price point than the classic pass. So there's ever more ways to, which are probably a lot less than people would think, to get involved. So check those out on the website.
Yeah.
It's your paddlers, swimmers, divers again. You see, you're speaking to your audience, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, isn't it? I think Cannes is more accessible than people think. So that was actually going to be one of my last questions was, and Louisa, you've kind of already gone there, but you can give me another one. Any top tips for people coming to Cannes this year for the first time, or even not for the first time? Like, what should they, I mean, my top tip would be, like you say, go and register for loads of the fringe events. Like, just get on those. There's some fantastic lists. Propeller, I don't think have quite finalized theirs yet, but
yeah,
I'll make
that's a great one.
that I should put in it when it's
Yeah.
live. One who's joined today, because you can just go on and look at the events and the topics and the things, and plan ahead and register for as much, even if you can't get around it, or register for as much as you can, because the amount of times I've had there and they're like, come meet me here, and I'm like, oh, I can't get into that one. Like, so just register for as much as you can, so at least you've got the option. Would be my,
I think tip one would be Google all the brands you're interested in and see if they're going, and then sign up. But my top tip 2 would be, like, don't fill yourself up too much. Some of the magic of Cannes happens in the unplanned, and you'll be heading on the Croisette to, like, absolute mission oriented. I'm going to Meta, and someone will be like, oh, I'm nipping over to Canva because they've got a session on and blah blah blah. Do you want to come? Go. If that happens, go, because you'll meet someone and you'll have a chat. So don't try and back yourself up from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, because the magic happens around the edges, I would say.
Love that.
I'd agree 100% with that. Say go with intent, but don't go with chock-a-block timetable. Pick up 50% of stuff you must go to that you really want to go to, but give yourself that serendipity opportunity as well. But definitely go with intent. What do you want to get out of it? What do you want to achieve? And then you'll get a much greater impact. Don't wear new shoes, take lots of water, and wear sun cream. And
also, don't wear a leather jacket, which I did on the first day that I ever came to Cannes. Landed, was like, oh, I'm going to take my leather jacket, because I'm one of the people that's always cold. Oh my gosh, I was so hot. Yeah, so hot. Don't wear a leather jacket, guys. You won't need it. I can definitely vouch for that. A big thank you to both of you. We have run over slightly, but there was so much gold in there. It always gets lively at the end as well. I always find that. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing so much. I will see you both at Cannes. But guys, there's going to be some follow-ups from this. We'll do a write-up. We'll share it with all of you. And I know there were lots of people that probably wanted to come that couldn't attend. So all of this will be, as we're saying, clipped up, and the content will be shared afterwards, just like a true event. And we'll also be back here. So I'm trying to remember what the topic is. Next month, I think we're doing a LinkedIn lowdown special. So next month will be fully focused. Yeah, I know. So if you're interested in all the LinkedIn tactics that you need to know with someone from LinkedIn, then join me back here again next month. But yeah, a big thank you, Paul,
see
Louisa,
you in Cannes.
everyone. Yeah, see anyone who's in Cannes. See you there.
Bye. Bye.